What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple A Fantasy YouTube channel. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Coleman at @DuBois_22. I allowed my friend David to come on to this show and talk to us a little bit. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Not used to not hosting, so this is kind of nice. Sitting in
I
my
like
chair, letting
this.
you do
Yeah,
all the work. Yeah, we can switch roles here. But
doing all the
also,
work, going through it.
shout out to everybody on the Triple Play YouTube channel for smashing those subscribes and likes. We're up to 1.2K on here. If we get to 1.5, maybe sometime soon, maybe Kevin will shave his beard.
Yeah, that's not happening, but we could figure something out. Maybe we'll make David eat a carb. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to go over the 2021 midseason rookie mock. And so what our thing that we wanted to do was, hey, if we were redrafting the rookies right now in a superflex 12-team dynasty, is who would we be drafting? And I think that it's a good kind of concept, especially with how ADP goes and how crazy it goes. It's just a little fun, and we'll go from there. And so we had these picks previous. David got the first pick, and he's going to go out on a limb and give us who he has. And just we're going to give a little brief analysis of why we picked the way we did, and just go from there. So who did you take at the 101 in this midseason mock?
I want to preface this pick with when we went back and
No,
forth.
that's never a good sign when you want to say I want to preface this pick, and then you're gonna give already. It's the 101. You get to pick anybody you want.
Yes, but I do want to preface that this pick, I made this pick, and then once I made this pick, Kevin texts me back, "Wait, are you sure?" Like acting like I was crazy. I was like, "Well, wait a second, am I weird for thinking this way?" And then when I was like, "No, I think I'm gonna stick with it," and you're like, "Oh, you bastard!" And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I don't know, you're just trying to get in my head so you can get him at the 102." But come on, guys, the 101 has to be Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, the man has been absolutely just destroying the league in his first year. Right now, it's 38 catches for 786 yards at 20.7 yards per catch, which for pass catchers that have at least 10 catches this year, that ranks first among wide receivers this year. 7 touchdowns in 8 games. Obviously, you've seen the talent, even just going back a couple of weeks ago when he had over 200 yards against the Ravens and a top 15 cornerback, according to PFF, and Marlon Humphrey. I mean, he's just been on another level, on pace to go over 1,800 yards this season. Set a record for the most yards through his first 7 games. And he's doing, I mean, there's nothing in his profile right now that's really concerning me. He's a 24% target share, which isn't massive. The most touchdowns and catches of 40 or more yards in the league this year. He has an over 15 ADOT, which actually ranks in the top 12 in the league. And he's not even in the top 20 top wide receivers in terms of targets this year. He also has his college quarterback who they have a ton of chemistry with that they've translated it to the NFL. He seems to be as safe a dynasty bet and as safe just a wide receiver prospect in general as you're going to have on your team.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna go with Ja'Marr too. I wanted to be all trendy and cool, but I wasn't able to go there. But I think realistic. I know Superflex. Everybody thinks quarterbacks are king. You know what? I don't know if that really. I may be shifting my opinion on this a little bit, just because of how the impact that Ja'Marr and these guys have on your fantasy teams, and with such a turnover at the quarterback position, like it's not a foregone conclusion that you have to go quarterback or running back, as we just pointed out, and you're going to notice that in our mock today. So I agree. I think Jamar's a great pick. I love Ja'Marr, everything about him. I remember someone had him at wide receiver 7 preseason. That's a tough look, but I will say, he has proved to be a top. Like if you had to pick today, is he a top 3 dynasty asset? I think he is already, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the wide receiver position.
So let me ask you real quick, not to go too far off topic. If you had to take him or Justin Jefferson right now, who are you taking?
Ja'Marr because because he's going to have Burrow for a longer period of time, and I don't know what's going to happen with Minnesota.
Yeah, agreed.
But that's here or there. All right, so I'm going to have the 102. And you know what? I said screw it too. I wanted to be cool. I took Kyle Pitts. And the reason why this is a dynasty draft, and the reason why I chose Kyle Pitts is because he's already dynasty tied in 1. I don't care what anybody tells you out there with how volatile that position is right now. You have Kelsey. Of course, he's at the tight end 1 right now, but he's not as astronomical as we've seen. He's only averaging a 0.1 more than Mark Andrews, who's right there. And then Hawkinson, Mike Gesicki, Dalton Schultz, Kyle Pitts is in there. Kyle Pitts is on pace to break every single tight end rookie record still, and he hasn't even had that great of a year. He's been kind of up and down in terms of what he's had. bad. He had 50 targets. He had a great game against Miami and the Jets, and everything else been pretty average. And he had a terrible game against Carolina. So I don't want to like reactionary though. So when you look at what he's done, he's averaged 14.7 yards per reception, 484 yards already, 33 receptions. He's going to be there. And to me, I think that you draft this guy because of the positional advantage. And the quarterbacks, in my opinion, in this class have not panned out to where we thought they needed to be. Now, I think that it's a little overblown. I think these guys are going to be all right. But I just think I look at Chase and Pitts almost to a tier of themselves, to be honest with you. I'm going to disagree with your next pick. I thought it was bad. But these two guys right here, I think they're in a tier of themselves based on dynasty value and dynasty asset.
Yeah, I mean, right now Kyle Pitts isn't even a tight end. He's classified as a tight end, but he's lining up as a wide receiver pretty much on every single snap the Atlanta Falcons are playing. So he's not getting the typical low tight end usage, or he's just working in the middle of the field. He's working everywhere. And right now with Calvin Ridley not there, he is the number 1, 2, and 3 option for that team. So you'd expect they're going to make sure he's a top 5 pick. They're going to get him the ball in every way, shape, or form they can. And I mean, I love that pick. I think also at a scarce position, he's you're locking him up here, and I don't disagree with that pick. I'm ready to debate this next one we're about to get into here. So at number 3, I took Najee Harris. Again, no quarterback yet. So everybody's like, wait, what are you doing, David? Well, first, I'll say I'm not in love right now with necessarily any of the quarterback prospects. What hasn't blown me away at this point to take him at the 103? You look at Najee Harris, who right now is second on the team in targets, red zone targets, and touchdowns this year. He's a true 3-down back, which we don't see that too much in today's NFL. It's very rarely any guys that can do that anymore. And a team that right now is not throwing the ball deep. Najee Harris has 128 of the team's 140 rushes this year. That's over 91% of the team's carries. Again, in an day and age where it's running back by committee, there's no committee in Pittsburgh. It's all Najee Harris. He's played at the most snaps at running back on the season, anyone not named Derrick Henry, and has an 86.4% offensive snap rate, which leads all running backs this year. Kamara is second at 82%. This volume, like I said, is very rare, and the type of work with the uncertainty of quarterback that we have kind of between Lawrence, Fields, and Lance has me a guy in his rookie year that I know I can bank on for the next 3 or 4 years of him giving me consistent production, barring injury, of course. And you got to expect the Steelers are eventually going to be reworking that offensive line, which will make him even more efficient. Because right now he's been super efficient this year, so I would expect that to get better as well. This type of volume, this type of work. Not saying he's a CMC, but he's kind of a lighter version of that. And if I can get that the 3rd pick here and have a guy that I know, again, the next 3 or 4 years is not going to have me searching for a workhorse running back that's involved in the passing game, I think it's a slam dunk here.
Yeah, you're wrong. And the reason why, you can go through all that stuff. It's got to be a quarterback here, David. I mean, this is still super flex, and I still think that Lawrence has to be the pick. And I know that he hasn't shown too many flashes here with what we're talking about with Trevor Lawrence. But I will say, you've seen the last 2 games. He's been throwing the ball a ton. I know that Urban's offense is bad, and I get that, and everything's there. But to me, I think you have to just go quarterback and bank on one of these guys to be a dynasty quarterback, especially because we're realistically looking at 12 quarterbacks going to probably shift gears next year. Either shift teams or teams are going to need those guys. So I think this is I would say this. Harris is a riskier play. So I give you credit there. I think Lawrence and these other guys, and Lawrence in particular, is a safer play. I probably would have went a safer play at the 103. I do have some question marks. Is Harris, when Roethlisberger leaves and they have someone that can actually throw the ball down more than 5 yards, is Harris not going to get those targets that we're going to see there? I think he's been great, and I agree with you. I think he's there. But my pick is Lawrence, and I think that you had to go quarterback in terms of mine. I love that he fell to me there. I'll start my dynasty team off with Kyle Pitts and Lawrence in this scenario. But I know it's a little different. But I'll take Lawrence, and I just give me that QB1, a guy that I think is going to get into his own. It takes time. The Justin Herberts of the rookie year. I think those are far in between, especially this year. You see Herbert struggling lately. So I think Lawrence is going to be just okay. He's the 101, and he was the 101. So 104 is not that too big of a fall, and I'm going to take him here.
So I will ask you this though. Trevor Lawrence led the Division I college football in the amount of screen passes he threw while he was at Clemson. Now I'm asking you that because had great playmakers around him at Clemson, kind of benefited from them making plays after or yards after the catch, and him not having to kind of really go downfield. Never really experienced losing in his career, has more losses this year than he's ever had throughout high school and college. Are you sure this guy's battle tested? Are you sure this guy, I mean, to take him over Fields and Lance, I think the name right now is carrying more than his actual production. And I'm a little
Whoa, whoa,
concerned, Long.
whoa, whoa, whoa! The hate. Whoa, this man went and beat Alabama as a true freshman for a national title. And yes, the weapons thing is valid. Okay, he had some weapons, but this year that same team without ETN, that same wide receiver class that he's had. I mean, T. Higgins was obviously there. They're 5-3 and they look awful this year. Clemson is terrible. So the 1 year that Lawrence hasn't been there, Clemson's out of the college football playoff, not any chance for a national title. I think we need to put some respect on my man Lawrence's name here, David.
Sean Watson did the same thing.
But that's fine. But we're not talking about Deshaun Watson. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence. Am I talking about,
like he was the one that resurrected that program? They were.
Am I talking about massage parlors right now? Leave me alone. What I am talking about, okay, is that Trevor Lawrence has shown that he can be a QB1. Yes, he beat Alabama at. I was there in San Francisco. I watched this game. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal for 3 years, and it looks like Trevor Lawrence was actually the more talented player on that Clemson team than anybody else around him. And we've seen what happened since he's left. I will say I wanted to take Lance here, but I was too big of a. I can't say that on YouTube. But I do agree. Like Lawrence to me is the safe play, and I think he's going to be just fine. I think that he's going to be a solid QB in the league, and he's going to hover around that QB 10 to 12 range, and maybe he'll get up in that upper echelon. I think his rushing upside hurts him a little bit, but I do think that he can be that solid producer for your team.
Well, I mean, okay, you can take him. You can let this next guy fall
I did
to
take
me.
him. You can.
So then I was like, you know what? Let me scoop up the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Fields at the 105. Handsome looking fella. Obviously, that's first and foremost here. Kevin, there's 3 things I like in my quarterbacks. 3 really important things. I like running, I like accuracy, and I like when they make big plays, and I cannot lie.
So you don't like Patrick Mahomes right now?
I mean, that's a whole nother discussion because of his defense, his playmakers dropping passes for interceptions, all that stuff. But again, those are the big 3 things in quarterback. The accuracy right now hasn't been there, obviously. But if you look, his completion percentage has gone up over his last 3 starts to a career high 70% last game. And Fields had his most fantasy points to date in week 8 at 26.3 points. He was the QB5 in week 8. Obviously had 103 rushing yards on the ground. And again, I think he's getting better. Right now he's number 2 in air yards per attempt, 4th in red zone completion percentage, and then rushing, which in today's day and age for fantasy, you need quarterbacks that can run if you want a QB1. He ranks in the top 8 in carries per game, rush yards, and rushing touchdowns. He's taking chances downfield, as I mentioned, with the number 2 in air yards. He's running. He's learning to become a better passer. I think when Matt Nagy is gone, the team gets better weapons. I think the sky's the limit for this kid here. He does everything that I'm looking for when I'm drafting a quarterback here in this rookie draft, and I'll gladly take him. I think his upside is a lot greater than Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, that's fair. Once he gets away from once he gets away from Matt Nagy, right? I think that's once he gets there. I like Fields. I really contemplated one of the 3 quarterbacks that spot. I said, hey, it's got to be Lawrence Fields or Lance. I went the safer pick with Lawrence. I don't mind the Justin Fields pick. I think that he does have incredible upside. I will say, like, hey, next year, though, if Robinson's gone, is it Mooney? Are they going to bring some other guys in? Obviously, the rushing attack is better. Monty and Herbert's being there. What does that look like? Is Cole Kmet really the answer? I do say there's some current concerns there, and that offensive line needs to get built up. But like you said, being a good quarterback doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be amazing or bad quarterback or inefficient. Doesn't mean you're not going to be amazing fantasy quarterback. And if you look at Jalen Hurts, I mean, that's a pretty fair example there. So yeah, 105. Now I went a little bit different. I've been saying I was going to pick a quarterback, but I went Javonte Williams at my 106. I took
you didn't take a quarterback?
No, I didn't take Lance. I let you have Lance. But I took Javonte just because I think positional, we've seen the running backs what happened to them, completely devastated this year, injuries. And I liked what I've seen from Javonte. He's running back 25 right now in PPR formats, and he's going to be higher. Melvin Gordon's running back 15. So those 2 guys are now just out basically in the top 24. Javonte's like 1 point away from me in the top 24. And so when you're looking at that, I think Javonte is going to be the clear-cut running back 2 of this class. and he could easily get up there when he gets his volume. So he's right now he's at 50-50 workload, but as soon as he gets that higher volume, we could realistically see him jump into the running back 12. I think he's really, really underrated right now as far as in dynasty value and out there. And if you can get him at the 106, I think that's a steal in terms of redraft where you have him, because I think he's clearly going to be that running back 1 next year on a team that's definitely going to be rebuilding, but they're still going to use him. They're going to use the usage is going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, this was the one pick I'm not going to argue with you in the sense that he was my favorite running back prospect coming in, led FBS and broken tackles in his last year at North Carolina. Just a straight stud. And I like you said, Melvin Gordon probably isn't going to be there next year. So he'll have a lot more of a workload to himself. He'll have a team that's not going to, if they draft a quarterback, it's going to be a young quarterback. I don't expect that they're bringing in someone like Aaron Rodgers or anything like that, but I do think this is kind of the floor, what he's going through right now. It's going to obviously, I expect a bigger jump in his second year, and I like the pick at 106 there. But you let another quarterback fall, so I'll take the last quarterback that we're going to get to for now. There might be one later, but at least kind of this chain of quarterbacks coming off. Trey Lance. And the 2 games he's attempted more than one pass this year, he scored at least 15.6 fantasy points in both games. He's combined for 130 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. We know his strong arm, his tremendous accuracy in college, uses his legs with the best of them. And what did I say I like, Kev? Strong, they have accuracy, they take shots downfield, and they can run. And he has that same type of thing in his profile, averaging a healthy 7.4 yards per attempt. The 49ers are grooming him slowly. Kind of looks like they're trying as much as they can to do the Patrick Mahomes method, because why would you not do that? Let him sit as long as he can in his first year and learn. Kind of forced in there with injury, but I don't think he's going to obviously play much of the rest of this season. But I do think that he's going to be somebody that in year 2 will make another jump forward. And with that rushing ability, why would you not want him on your team? And got a good system to be in. So I like him. If you're having at the 107, I think that's a smash.
Yeah, hey, you're not getting. I love Trey. I think Trey's a great quarterback, and once he gets into that position, he's my QB2 coming out. And I realistically, I could have taken him at 104. That's how high I'm in there. If you get him at 107, I think he has a ton of upside. And I love that pick there. 108. So I went first wide receiver off the board, and I took. I don't know if this can be first wide receiver after Chase. Chase doesn't count. He's God. Is JAYLEN WADDLE. And I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not. I don't know how you felt about this, but I'm a big JAYLEN WADDLE guy. He was my wide receiver 2 coming out of college. I love him with Tua. I do think that Tua has been getting screwed with Miami, but you've seen the usage. You've seen him score touchdowns, and that's what I'd like to see out of Waddle. And when he's been there, I think that he's going to be the clear wide receiver 1 of that team moving forward. I think once they figure out what the hell's going on with those other guys there, DeVonta Parker, Fuller, if he's going to stay healthy there, I think that it's Waddle. And when I'm looking at just his PPR numbers and what he's been able to do, I mean, he's put up a 29, a 17, a 16, a 15 this year. I think that he'll score touchdowns. He's consistently gotten targets. He already has 68. He's gotten 13 twice in a game. So I like Waddle, and I think that he's going to add that explosiveness that we're going to like to see. I think that he is going to be a good wide receiver 2 for the next 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, it's crazy how low his ADOT is this year and how they're not utilizing what his strengths are. And I'm hopeful that whether
that
it's
offense is terrible.
Yeah. You got to hope that they're going to do something with that offense next year. Bring in another quarterback if Tua's not the guy, that they're going to change their offensive scheme, whatever it is, because right now it's looked pretty interesting with him. Obviously, he's leading the team in target share, so you know that they want to make sure he's the guy for them for the future. He's going to be their number 1. I do like that pick there. I'm glad that you took him, though, because I'm bigger on his teammate that we're going to get to next year at the 109. That is DeVonta Smith. And I know you look at his profile. If you were to look at him on whatever site you're going to look at, it's pretty ugly right now. The Slim Reaper is right now wide receiver 42 and 33 receptions, 421 yards, and only 1 touchdown this year. And I think right now he's getting discounted a lot across the industry because of the poor quarterback play that he's getting. I'm sorry if that offends you Eagles fans, but he's truly talented. Hurts struggles as a passer, I think, has really made Smith not look like the alpha wide receiver that we expect going into this year. Right now, he does have a 23% target share, 14.4 ADOT, and a 39% air yard share. Looking great across the board when you look into his numbers. He's winning consistently across the line of scrimmage. And according to Player Profiler, he was 38th in quarterback targeted percentage when the ball is being thrown to him among wide receivers, 76th in quarterback rating when targeted, 53rd in catchable target rate. And just if you look across any type that thing that involves getting Smith the ball, he's ranked towards the bottom half of the receivers here. I think he's really talented. I think you will see that more when they bring in a better throwing quarterback next year. We know how great Jalen Hurts is for fantasy, but we all know in real life right now, Jalen Hurts is not getting the job done. Maybe he takes a Lamar Jackson type of leap if they keep him and they work with him for next year. But as of right now, that's the only reason why Smith is not, I think, doing better in the league. I know he has dropped 5 balls so far this year, which is in the top 10 as far as wide receivers go. But again, getting open to me is the most important thing. You see it with Deontay Johnson. You see it with Jerry Jeudy. If these guys can win at the line of scrimmage and get open, they're going to have balls thrown their way. I think better days are ahead for Smith. I think he's easily, for me, the number 2 wide receiver in this class, and I'll take him at the 109.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick. Hopefully, now, do you trust the Eagles organization though to actually figure that out? That's the key.
Yeah, this is a big question.
That's the key, right?
They have 3 first-round picks that are all right now, I think, in the top 12. So either whether you use that type of capital to bring in another quarterback, a trusted quarterback. I'm not saying like somewhat of the Matthew Stafford type of caliber. If there's one out there you could trade for right now, I know this QB class coming in doesn't have a huge name, so you got to bring in a veteran to at least compete with Hurts to make it so that I mean maybe even the legend Gardner Minshew, he comes in and makes DeVonta Smith look better. Who knows? But I do think there'll be better days ahead.
I agree. I think that DeVonta has been gotten kind of screwed based on what he's dealt with this year from that play. Offensive line's not been great. Rushing attack's not been great. So I agree there. Now, my next guy is just based on talent, and he's been injured. Rashod Bateman. I think that when you look at what he's done, obviously in 2 weeks that he's played, he also had a bye last week. He's put up the numbers. He's had 12 targets in 2 games. The last game, he had 3 receptions for 80 yards. I think Marquise Brown, that evolution of him, Andrews, I know that he's going to be limited a little bit, but I do think Bateman can be that alpha wide receiver that they look for in the red zone, a la like Michael Pittman, like how you see the Colts are using him there. So I still agree. Like there's not a tons of numbers on him, obviously, because he's been injured, but I do think that the evolution of Lamar Jackson as a passer is going to help him. And I'm going to see that. And they're going to use that still. I mean, even next year when Dobbins comes back, you're still looking at they're going to be more of a passing attack now that they've seen how to do it. And now Lamar's had to do it. So give me Bateman just based on talent, what's on the left on the board. And I'm not taking this next guy. So that's all you.
Yeah, I mean, the next guy here, I was kind of surprised you let him fall at one. I do like Rashod Bateman, though. I think he will be the alpha number 1 eventually for Baltimore. I know Hollywood Brown right now has looked incredible, but I believe in Bateman longer term. I think he's a great pick at 110, but I will take the explosive, talented, stupendous, the high riser, the speedster. Kevin, you can stop me at any time. I could go all day.
I was just gonna say the terrible tweeter. That's what I'm gonna say right now.
That's good point. The terrible tweeter, KADARIUS TONEY, and at the 11, it's crazy because he might be the guy I think out of everybody that was mostly not in everybody's first round before the season started. He's kind of elevated and gotten to his way into this discussion. 27 catches for 343 yards this season. First 3 weeks was barely used, but since week 4. He's got 23 of his 27 catches, 329 of his 343 yards, and those basically in 3 games and 1 drive because he got hurt that first drive of the Rams game where he had 3 catches for 36 yards on that drive. He looks quick and explosive. And Kevin, do you remember a few years ago when a Giants receiver came in week 4 and then started tearing up the league? Do you remember his name? Yeah, he knows. He knows. That's the smile of someone who knows I'm right. And he might be the player, like we said, who's dynasty value shopped the most here. I'm not a believer in Galladay long term. Sterling Shepard's always hurt. I think Kadarius Toney right now, who went from wide receiver 50, he's wide receiver 57 on the season right now, but he's wide receiver 28 since week 4. I think he's just scraping the surface of what he could do. You saw at Florida. He just looked like he had a different skill set, a different gear than a lot of these college athletes. And I think that the Giants, if they're smart, they'll utilize him the best way possible. They'll get him out in space. They'll let him make plays. He makes NFL cornerbacks. There are a few players in the league that can make NFL cornerbacks look like they're just like a completely like a JV level team. The way they're guarding him, the moves he can put on them is just kind of something you don't see from too many wide receivers. So I think he's going to be the wide receiver they focus on most going forward. And the top pass catcher in the Giants offense, even though it's been Daniel Jones, I do think there's a lot of value there. So I'm in on Kadarius Toney at the 111.
Yeah, I will. I need to. I think we need to temper our expectations a little bit. You're right. You have good points. Unfortunately, I just will say like Daniel Jones. What is that quarterback situation going to be like? I do think now this year, yeah, like if we redrafted, yeah, we'd be happy with it because he's going to get targets. Galladay's hurt, whatever. Daniel Jones moving forward, dynasty wise, though, who's he going to be? The offensive line still needs it. Is Barkley going to be that guy? How does that look? And so, and I do think that there's question marks about his maturity. I think that's a real thing. Like he has not done very well the last couple of days with some tweets about Ruggs. And we've seen that before with these wide receivers. Like there are some question marks there. So I think he's a big play kid. I've liked him more than like analytics guys liked him. And he's got draft capital, whether anybody likes to see that. He does, and people want that. So I agree. I think you have to take him at this spot. I think there's a clear tier break in terms of like after this. So I'm okay with that. Now, last guy to round out where we're going to go with is our guy, Mac Jones. So I took Mac at quarterback just as a safe play in terms of just like, hey, this is the guy that's there. Super flex league. You can't let Mac get out of the first round of super flex league, especially because, realistically, he's had a pretty good year. He's QB 22 right now, but you've seen him kind of come on a little bit. You're looking at his numbers, 22, 17, 15. He's had that. So I like that. He's been very consistent. Now, he's always going to have a very low, I would say a low ceiling because he doesn't really run. There's not going to be that. I think he's basically QB 12 to 14 in that range. I'd probably assume he's going to finish if he can kind of continue. They open it up a little bit more. They get him some weapons. So give me Mac just because he's a quarterback, and I can't take Zach Wilson here. So that's not happening.
Yeah, he's the odd one out. He's the person that didn't get the invite to the party. He's the one that no, he's unfortunately we love you, Zach, but you're not on either of our dynasty rosters, at least in the first round here, because better guys to choose from.
Not in the first round. Didn't you have you there? But I don't think there's any really big shocks here. The biggest thing I would say is Trevor Lawrence not going to the 103, but I'll let you have your running back. I'll take the better one with JAVONTE Williams.
Oh, wow. Using my own thing against me, having him as the number one guy at the class. Again, I mean, maybe I'll look back in that and laugh. Maybe I'll look back and look stupid. I mean, you guys have to let us know in the comments. Am I stupid for taking Najee Harris at number 3 over any of the quarterbacks? I mean, I think I was kind of thinking 2 steps ahead of Kevin with that move, but let us know, please, because
yeah, let us know. Let us know. And make sure you tell us who won. It was me. Let me know I had the best draft. I appreciate you guys as always. Like David said, we really appreciate the support we've been getting and growing from the YouTube channel. So as always, check us out on YouTube like you can, or you can check us out on the podcast. We have 3 different podcasts for 3 different sports. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.